Thank you for joining us, and here's some of the reports we're filing at this time. I am Franco Malape. We begin now from New York, where President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria's economy is ripe for increased investment. President Muhammadu Buhari made this known in New York at the 77th United Nations General Assembly. The president lamented the reduced private capital inflows, especially foreign direct investment for infrastructure and natural resource sex project. Buhari further noted that Nigeria will require an investment commitment of about 340 trillion naira by 2025, even as the government capital expenditure during the period would be 49.7 trillion naira. That's about 14.3%, while the balance of 298.3 trillion naira, about 85.75%, was expected from the private sector. The president noted the private capital flows into Nigeria, consisting mainly of foreign direct investment, have slowed, hindering the financing of much-needed infrastructure. And now the World Bank Group has warned that Nigeria, as well as other developing economies, that simultaneous rate hikes in response to increasing inflationary pressure may trigger a global recession and a string of financial crises. In its new study titled Risk of Global Recession in 2023, Rises Amid Simultaneous Rate Hikes, the Washington-based bank said the currently expected trajectory of interest rate increases and other policy actions might not be sufficient to bring global inflation back down to levels seen before the pandemic. Central banks around the world have been raising interest rates this year with a degree of synchronicity not seen over the past 5 decades, a trend that is likely to continue well into next year, according to the report. Investors expect central banks to raise global monetary policy rates to almost 4% through 2023, an increase of more than 2 percentage points over their 2021 average. The president of the African Development Bank, Akiwumi Adesina, says Nigeria needs help in tackling its debt burden. He said these are the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum in New York on Thursday. According to Adesina, financing is critical to solving Nigeria's development challenges. He's saying, quote, financing is critical because the debt to GDP ratio of Africa has increased to 70%. Several countries are at risk of high debt distress due to unsustainable debt levels. And quote, Adesina also said that African countries, including Nigeria, needed international partnership to tackle climate change. He noted that Nigeria's growth will be conditioned on its ability to fix its massive infrastructure deficit. The AFDB boss added that the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan showed Nigeria would need a total financing of $759 billion up until 2043. Away from there now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has revealed the ongoing energy transition will cost the federal government $410 billion. Nigeria's transition to net zero by 2060 requires enormous investment in gas project, which is the country's transition fuel. A group chief executive officer, Malam Melikiari, made this disclosure at the Nigerian International Economic Partnership held in New York. The NNPCL Limited has opened talks with the United States Finance Corporation and an EXIM bank to seek financing for its multi-billion-dollar gas project. But while the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has opened talks with the United States Finance Corporation and EXIM Bank to seek financing for its multi-billion-dollar gas project, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, Melekiari, disclosed it at the Nigerian International Economic Partnership held in New York on Thursday. Nigeria's transition to net zero by 2060 requires enormous investment in gas projects, which is the country's transition fuel. Kiari said Nigeria is looking for opportunities to leverage on the gas resources in the country to provide the possibility that is required for the energy transition. And in the meantime, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has warned ministries, departments, and agencies of government against appointing consultants and concessionaires to collect taxes due to the federal government or any of its agencies. The FIRS said it is the sole agency of the government saddled with the responsibility of tax collection. The execution chairman, Mohammed Nami, had accused some MDAs of including functions of assessment, collection, accounting and enforcement of taxes and levies in their agreement with concessionaires and consultant. Citing Section 60, subsection 2 of the Establishment Act, the Service Revenue highlighted that by law, it is the primary agency of the federal government of Nigeria responsible for the administration, assessment, collection, accounting and enforcement of taxes and levies due to the federal government or any of its agencies except as may be authorized by the minister responsible for finance by regulation as approved by the National Assembly. The executive chairman, FIRS, further cautioned MDAs who were in the business of appointing consultant for tax assessment and collection that they were not just acting against the letters of the law, but were committing offenses that were punishable under the FIRS Establishment Act as amended. And our Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Cui Jinsun, has said his country has no intention of taking over Nigeria's critical asset as repayment for loans in the event of default. Jia Chun made this known during the visit of the Chinese Special Representative on African Affairs, Liu Yuqi, to Nigeria's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, on Thursday in Abuja. The visit of the Chinese Special Representative to Africa is geared towards strengthening Nigeria and China relations. He expressed China's willingness to work with Nigeria for the benefit of both countries. Jia Chun said that China and Nigeria are working on the basis of mutual trust and that his country has no intention of taking over Nigeria's asset in a situation where it fails in the repayment of loans it took from China. And our food prices have risen globally in recent years. It began with the coronavirus pandemic that made farmers and food-producing companies unable to cultivate and produce food in sufficient quantities. Many food factories ran out of raw materials for their operations. In Nigeria, the cause of food inflation goes beyond the pandemic. Food inflation reached about 17.2% and 18.3% in March and April, respectively. From July 2020 till date, prices of basic food items like rice, beans, and yam, vegetables, and poultry products, among others, have seen a steady rise. To shed more light on this, I'm joined now by IBrandTV correspondent Kali Obi, joining us now. Thank you for joining us, Kali.
Thank you.
Now, you've been into the market and, of course, trying to track prices of food across the Lagos market. Tell us, first of all, what did you see? What did you witness? And, how is the prices like in the market?
The prices are not favoring anybody, because going to the market and talking to the traders and also communicating with the consumers, people like the customers, and everybody's worried. Nobody is happy about the whole thing, because we're asking where and when will the solution to all this come to pass? When will the prices come down? And the fear of it going up every day, because every time we go to a new month, I'm sure before October, September, inflation will come up. That will come up. And
yes, of course, because in the month of August, the truth about this is that we didn't know the inflation was going to go up further, even though analysts have projected that inflation was going to go further. But the most shocking is that food inflation has risen from around 17% in March to about 23% in August. Previously, comparatively, if you have to look at some of the food prices you tracked, in the market, give us some of these food prices, comparatively. Beans, grain, how much was this sold last month? Before the inflation figure came out, and how much is it is now selling now, given the current inflation in August, and whether that is actually impacting on the prices in the market at the moment.
And so far, I remember in February we had when you go to buy the rick of beans, as they call it, then it was going for 700 to 800 naira, and in July it got down to 550. That one would say yes. That one came down, and there was there was like a laughable thing between the customer and the seller.
And maybe because it went down because there was a bit of supply.
There was a
maybe
bit of
from the north, from the northern chains of supply that we had then.
So it was only beans that came down, but the rest of the food items never. Until date, it's not coming down. We have the rice. The rice is still, rice is not high a bit. But the rice you get for 450 is now 500. The one you get for 500 is now 550.
You mean the rick of rice?
The rick of rice is now 550. For the bags, it's still up. I remember in August we had a bag of rice for 30,000. Now it's going for 32 to 35,000, depending on the local one is 30. While the foreign is 32 to 35,000 per bag. The bean still remains at 50,000 for the 50 kg. It's not even coming down.
How about 25 kg? Do we have 25 kg in the market?
That's what we have. We have, but when you go in there, we have for the 25 kg is between 20 to 22,000. That's for the foreign. Then for the local is between 19 to 20. So it's not that because you're going to the market to buy the local rice, you're waiting for something, you're waiting for the amount to be lower because it's local. No.
Let's talk about the reason why this is going up. I know fundamentally some will say, oh, it is because of the insecurity in the Northeast and because of fundamental factors like demand and supply. If you have a lot of people demanding for these products or commodities, it's likely that the prices will go up. But this time around, yes, the government has said fundamentally, yes, the prices goes up and the food inflation went up because there were insecurities. But if you look at within, the market itself, what exactly do you think was responsible from what you find out from the people who came to buy or people who are supplying? Is it as a result of the cost in transportation from the northern side down here, or is it because we don't have enough coming down the southwest here? Especially for beans, yes,
beans, right? Yeah, it's I think it's not about not having enough, because if you go to the market every day, you go to my 12, you see trailer loads of food stuff coming from the north. By the time they'll tell you, oh, there's such a normally we have like 60 trucks, but now we're having like 20 coming in. Yes, sometimes it's from the farmers. The farmers not you go to the farms, and then when you go to the farms, you see a lot of workers and they're there, but they're all scared of going to the farm because of the insecurity. It starts with the insecurity in the country.
That's right. Just before I allow you go, the question now, what happens next? What should we be expecting next? What did you find out, especially from these sellers or from these traders? What did you find out from them? Because we started receiving, new yam because it's harvest season. So we expect that if rice is high and it's more expensive for the ordinary man to afford, and then of course now that we're in harvest season for yam, we should have a bit of impact. Let's have that impact of that supply.
That one, the yam has to be,
especially for yam. Do we have that now? That's one.
We don't.
Going into the Mba month. Of course, we're in September, October,
November,
December. There's that effect
December.
of Christmas again. What are the expectations? What are the people saying?
For going into the Mba month, which we know this is September, October, things are going to be more expensive because the festive period is coming, and
so you are expecting
we're expecting hunger. We're expecting hunger. Yes, I don't want to say I'm the person that sees tomorrow, but we all know with the way the rate things are going in this country, if the insecurity is not tackled, if the prices of the fertilizer does not come down, and other things, the amount that these drivers collect from these traders to bring down their goods to Lagos, if all these things are not put in place.
I think we have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Kali Obi, IBrand business correspondent. Thank you for coming on Business Now.
Thank you.
You're still watching Business Now. We'll take a commercial break, and when we return, of course, more news coming your way. Please stay with us.